Good afternoon, everyone. Tom Thorson, I'd like to call the October 21st Police and Fire Commission to order. We do have 4 members, so we have the quorum present. So we are in session. The second order of business is approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look at them? Is there a motion? Approve? Okay, Tom moves, or a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Any discussion? Corrections? Okay, all those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, public appearances for non-agenda items. Sarah, nobody sent anything in? Okay, so, and there's no one here. So the fourth item on our agenda is the listening session and public input on the updated PFC rules and regulations. As a follow-up to our last meeting, I did send to all the city officials, elected and administrative, the rules. I know that the police chief and fire chief also sent out to their respective employees. In fact, I don't know if the chief knows this, but the day you sent it out, I had left my garage door open for about 5 minutes, and thankfully one of the officers stopped to say, hey, your garage door's, and he had seen it and asked some questions, so it was very good. So,
Microphone?
Rules and regs.
No, I had simply asked him whether or not he had gotten it.
Sure.
So, but anyways, so no, anybody have any, hear of any feedback to the rules? Okay, because, you know, it's one of those things that we want to make sure the public knows about it, and especially the employees who might be affected by it know about it. And Joe, did you have anything from the fire department personnel? Did they ask any questions?
None, and quite frankly, I don't know that there was a lot of feedback. It seemed pretty straightforward.
Okay. Well, we'd rather have it very open and everybody know about it. So that's good. The plan is we'd still be open to any feedback, you know, if people write or otherwise, but we'll plan on doing a final adoption then at next month's meeting. Okay, report from the police department.
Good afternoon, everyone. The staffing report was included in the agenda. I'll just summarize it here briefly. We are currently full as far as our authorized positions stand. We do have an officer in the Law Enforcement Academy currently. Unfortunately, they had to take a 2-week break recently due to a COVID exposure in the academy. So we are looking at if things stay on track right now, an early December graduation for that officer. And we currently have 2 other officers, one on restricted duty due to an off-duty injury that's going to be some time before they are able to get cleared in order to come back into duty. And the other one on restricted duty at this point in time is actually on a military leave deployment. So we are anticipating a 1-year deployment for that officer. That deployment began in early October. And ultimately, you'll likely see another military deployment coming in January as well. We've got another officer who's likely going to get deployed in January. So we'll look to have potentially another position unfilled. Still, obviously, our roster is full, so to speak, but the vacancy will be there. And then obviously we are in a hiring process. I think Sarah will probably give an update on that at some point during the meeting. Any questions at all?
As far as, go ahead, Sarah.
No, I was just going to give a little update, but I'm sorry. If anyone has any questions, I can wait until after.
No, why don't you go ahead and take care of the hiring update first?
Sure. We had about 74 applicants for police officer. Of those, we have 40 that are invited to interview. We did decide that it would be safest for everyone involved to hold Zoom interviews. So we will have all virtual interviews next week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So again, 40 Zoom interviews, and then from there, we'll see who goes on to the chief interviews. It can bring stats and numbers for everyone at a later time, maybe at the end of the recruitment process, to see, how many people applied who were female, people of color, and where they were at in the process. But yeah, we're really excited to get at least, we've got 40 strong candidates from the application scoring process that happened last week, and so we will see how things go next week.
Sarah, of the 40, and I know you mentioned it'd be over 2 days, how many panel members are you having, and how you're gonna handle that number?
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of prep. We have had Zoom interviews, so we definitely have experience with that. We have 5 panel members this time around. So what ended up happening is we asked a community member who originally wasn't sure if she could do it, and then at the last minute we found out she could. So we had already asked another community member to be on the panel. So we have 5. Which is not a bad thing by any means, but the panel members can be off-site too. We're not requiring that the panel members come into like council chambers and all sit together. So everyone will be virtual. So there's even a really neat way we can share the interview questions ahead of time through a software program that basically self-destructs after 15 minutes so that we can still afford that opportunity. We added a situational interview question in the process. And then we also adjusted another question. So instead of 2 interview questions, we have 4 for the 20-minute interview. They're really strong interview questions, and I'm really excited that we were able to update those.
Okay. Any questions? If not, thank you. Chief, looks like you're ready to make a comment. I can't really see.
Well, I
guys.
mean, it was just going to comment on the software that has something in destruction in 15 minutes in the old Mission Impossible show. That was
Okay.
That's what I was thinking about.
All right.
So.
It would be interesting in the technology, from over the years. I took place of a virtual interviews about 4 months ago, and it is very interesting. That you can get a lot of feedback. You can get a lot of information even from the Zoom. So that's good. Anything else on the police department staff? I guess one question is that has the budget been proposed for staffing for the 2021?
Yeah, the mayor's proposed budget largely mirrored what I submitted for a budget request. The only change from the mayor's budget to what I had suggested or requested was he's elected to prohibit out-of-state training for 2021 due to COVID, so there was a corresponding reduction in training budgets across all departments for any potential out-of-state training next year. And from a budget amendment standpoint, I haven't been through all of them yet, but it doesn't appear as though there's anything super significant as far as any amendments in particular related to our operating budget.
I just wanted to make it related to staffing, as far as, what applies. So.
No staffing changes. I didn't request any. I recognize the current economic environment, so I elected not to request any at this point in time. We are in the process of trying to get a staffing plan finalized. We've had a working draft for quite some time here that we've just had to prioritize or deprioritize over a few other things. So if all goes well, I would hope that draft or that staffing plan would potentially be released in the next few months.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. The report from the fire department. Chief?
All right, good evening, everyone. My staffing plan is also, or the report on staffing and the activity report is part of the packet that went out to members. So not a lot of change. We do have a couple of people that we are addressing from a paid on call standpoint that may not be members any longer, but we're just trying to stay on top of that based on activity. In addition to that, we'll be going into closed session to discuss the probation status of one of our members. And that's basically all I've got right now.
Your discussion prompted a question on the paid on call and hours. Is there a minimum hours per year that you're required to keep that status?
So more than hours, we look at activity per month. We try to get them in here at least twice, riding on the vehicle, filling 2 shifts each month, and that allows for a certain amount of experiential activity. Otherwise, I mean, if they don't use their skills, they're likely to not be able to apply those as quickly as we would like them to. In addition to that, we ask them to participate in training on a regular basis. Now, we are fully aware of the fact that they have other priorities in their life to include full-time employment and family, but we ask that they participate in about 70 to 80% of the trainings that we offer every year. Obviously, hardships come into play, and we do have the ability to make those things up, but there is some value in having face-to-face education and making sure that we're applying those skills together as a team, because that's likely how they're going to be applying those skills in real life. So there's that old adage that you're gonna play like you practice, and that's another example of what we try to do with our training, is get it out there as realistically as possible. So yes, there are some mandates to include things that they have to stay on top of as far as their refresher training. All of our paid on call personnel are supposed to be minimally trained to the emergency medical responder level, and that requires a refresher every 2 to 3 years. I think the state is now changing that to a 3-year renewal, but up till this point, it's been 2 years. Every 2 years, they need a refresher in their emergency medical training.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from commissioners? If not, well, thanks, Chief. I guess the next item will be going into closed session. Somebody want to read that and then make a motion? If not,
I can move to enter into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, more specifically, to remove the probationary status of one firefighter.
yes, thank you. And that's under 19.851C, the statutes. Is there a motion and a second?
I second.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Okay, all in favor, let's do a visual so it's all documented. Say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
so we're in closed session. Thank you. The commission is back in open session, and as a result of the closed session, is there a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the chief's recommendation that the probationary status of Alec Wickman is removed.
Okay, second?
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye of removing the probationary status of Alec Wickman.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next agenda item is the orientation and training for PFC members. And as most people know, when somebody first joins the commission, there's a statewide training that they're able to go, and I know Tom O'Day is going to be able to go to that next month. But we've also noted that there's a gap there, and there's a lot of information that we would like to have commission members be aware of, so that they're right on top of what their duties are. I had asked that Tom and I get together to do an outline, And Tom has actually done it of items to potentially have in there, you know, for that training. And so this is something that we're gonna be taking up, you know, at a future date, a little more detail, probably in December, but we'll have discussions. And what I'd recommend is, Tom did a nice job of having like 13 items already for us to discuss as part of that orientation, and it will fill in so that every commissioner really knows, here's your duties, here's the limited part, here's open record issues, all the things that they need to know. So we'll send this out, but at this time, is there other issues related to the orientation and training that people would like to talk about?
I guess, Tom, do you already have the manual?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yeah, I think the manual's a wonderful resource, and then that League of Wisconsin Municipalities has their, I think it's an annual training, and Sarah can correct me, but an annual training coming up maybe the second week of November, so to the extent anyone wants that refresher, it's going on again.
Right.
And that'll be all virtual, right? You don't have to travel to the Dells or
Correct.
Stevens Point? Okay. Okay, anything else on the orientation or training? Do the chiefs have any thoughts? Go ahead, Sarah.
I just want to say thank you, Tom, for putting that together. You know, I know that's something that was lacking for our new members, so I just wanted to tell you I appreciated that, and I look forward to talking more about it in December.
Okay, thank you. And then, so if Tom, if you would submit what you sent to Sarah, and then she can send out, and we can all figure out what we want to add or delete or move around.
Sure.
I think that'd be good. Thank you. Are there any announcements? I guess the one thing I would say for potentially for announcement is I think we're going to have to monitor very closely just what the COVID situation is, because I think we want to consider safety first. And so, you know, we'll see if next month, if we're able to do, you know, this is fairly safe, you know, keeping some distance, but yet, you know, who knows? We may want to really think about that, and we'll have to look at what the numbers are, and I think make determinations based on what's safest, you know, based on what health experts say. So that's the only thing I would like to call attention to. And we'll do what, you know, I think is, you know, the best for everyone, or try to make those decisions. So any other announcements?
I've got a couple,
Okay,
just a couple
Chief.
of things to keep on your radar.
Okay.
In 2021, that is the 50th anniversary of the Fitchburg Fire Department. Actually, some would contend that the 50th anniversary is this year because they selected a chief in 1970. And it wasn't until 1971 that they were able to operate out of the fire stations. The original fire station was down by City Garage and by the DPW. And then eventually they moved into the space where we are currently at Station 1 in 1972, along with the police department. So the fact of the matter is we're working on some things we've been working on for the past couple of years as far as chronicling, putting our chronological order, if you will, into a book that allows us to share the progression of the Fitchburg Fire Department. That's not only helpful from just a department history standpoint, but from an operational standpoint, it gives us an idea of some of the things that we have already tried to accomplish, some things that have been stumbling blocks along the way, and how the department has basically grown in conjunction with the growth of our municipality. So we've got that we are working on, and more about that to follow. If there's one other thing that I have, it's probably that the research that we have been working on as far as an inclusive workforce. My research is before my advisors right now, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks I'll have something that's a little bit more polished to be able to share with you. It'll be going before an editor after that, just to make sure that whatever we release is consistent with appropriate format. But then the content will have been pretty well established by the assistance that I've received through advisors and proofreads. If anybody's interested in proofreading it, just feel free to give me an email, and I'll send you what I've got, especially when it's a little bit more polished. Right now, it's definitely a first draft.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? Comments? Well, thank you, everyone. Is there a motion to adjourn? Come on, somebody.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll look forward to sending some emails with the information that we can build off of, so,
Before you log off, Sarah,
okay.